Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. And we will now go to item D7, Sunshine Ambassador Award, and I would like to ask Councilmember Mohammed to take over.
Thank you. And I'll read it from here, if y'all don't mind. I think the item is fitting, D7. I'm just saying. I don't know how that worked out. I don't know how that worked out, but definitely thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity. We'd like to recognize Mr. Jabaar Edmond as an official Sunshine Ambassador of the City of St. Pete. I'm going to try and keep it brief because we got like a whole lot that I'm trying to cover, but we met in the spring of 2012 during the early days of our Stop the Violence initiative. And about a year later, I called Mr. Edmond and I told him that I was dealing with some personal challenges and family issues, and I was going to get a second job, and I'm leaving that community stuff alone. It's enough of this stuff. He said, nah, man, you can't, like, we need you out here. Just tell me what you need me to do. Whatever it is that you need me to do, let me know how I can help, and I'll do the best that I can. And Mr. Edmond, here we are 10 years later. So before we get into your public service, I just want to thank you again for what you've done for me personally. You've heard me tell the story about when I couldn't vote. There was this brother who, when I could vote, there was a brother who couldn't vote, but he made sure that each and every one of us who did have the right to vote exercised that right, and he would tell us, vote for me, cast your vote, just vote for me, get your ballot, and we'll work through it together. When I talk about not wanting to host a candidate forum and interview candidates that were running for office, and those people going to do what they want to do anyway, it was this young man who said, no, we have to do it. We have to let them know that, you know, we're engaged and we want to, you know, find out who's going to be representing us. And, you know, he insisted in a way that only Mr. Edmond can, for those who know. He has a way about him. But your advocacy, the explanations, the exhortations, and encouragement have been a constant force in my life since we began our work together, and I appreciate it. I also remember when we were asking people to volunteer, and I wasn't really having too much luck, and Mr. Edmond was knocking it out of the park. So I said, well, what are you doing? How are you getting people to volunteer? He said, well, I don't ask them to volunteer. Because that's working for free. I just ask them to help out. And it was like magic. We stopped asking people to volunteer and asked them, would you like to help out in the community? And we started seeing some traction around the movement. Madam Chair and council members, his list of accomplishments is very impressive and diverse. It spans several areas of our community. And when we met, he was focused on his art. He had a studio in the neighborhood where he wrote, directed, and produced about 10 movies. Movies that he would later show in local theaters and eventually around the country on a tour. These premieres would include red carpets, celebrity interviews, and creating a Hollywood vibe, while also helping to make the dreams of cast members and other crews and other behind-the-scenes people come true by putting them in positions to have their movies displayed on the big screen, and I think that's amazing. We did focus groups around talking to members of the community about the causes of violence and what some of the influences were, and feedback that we received was it was a lot around the music, and so I asked him if he would assemble a group of hip-hop artists to create a mixtape. He obliged, and we created this Smart as the New Gangster mixtape. And when you listen to some of our early videos, you'll hear this theme song in there, Stand Together, but that was another part of his work. Also made movies about homelessness and really highlighted, you know, the struggles of veterans and how art can be used as a way to deal with the challenges that they're facing with mental health, and used the city of St. Petersburg as a backdrop, as a character actually in the movie, and called it Art in the City. He also introduced us to AI and cryptocurrency and drones and other technology through Agent X, the movie series. And while doing that, we had a program called Real Education, where we taught youth how to take their cell phones and use them to record videos and, you know, turn their toys into tools. And I mean, it's just amazing. I can keep going. I think I will. But I think it's important for me to say at this moment that I really pray that when the story of St. Pete and South St. Pete specifically is told, around the years of 2010 up into the current time, really the past decade, I pray that your contributions are not overlooked, minimized, or invalidated, because unfortunately that is the case for a lot of trailblazers and people who paved the way for others. You've taken lumps, you've been abused publicly and behind the scenes, dealt with stigma, misunderstandings, and everything else that comes along with being a pioneer. And oftentimes when the people who you've been advocating with and agitating, when they finally figure it out, a lot of times they forget that it was you who lit that match and sparked that movement and created that idea that moved things forward for our community. The St. Pete Renaissance Plan that you worked on and organized was a catalyst and a forerunner to the One Community Plan, which aimed to create more inclusive and equitable St. Pete by bringing people together and developing a community-led economic development plan. Your involvement in the Childs Park neighborhood and the association as a volunteer, then vice president and now president of the neighborhood association, has been incredible and was the fuel behind a lot of the initiatives and success that we've experienced. Mr. Edmond is also currently the president of the Urban League Young Professionals, and I can remember you being a catalyst for the reorganization of the NAACP at a time when the NAACP had disbanded. I remember you, again, in that Mr. Edmond way, agitating and sparking conversations about where is the NAACP that led to the NAACP being revived in our city. During COVID, you helped to lead the neighborhood through many of the challenges and uncertainty that came with COVID-19 and the pandemic. Being one of the first to organize a mask giveaway, Carla Bristol and others, I remember we were in groups where we literally passed a hat and you put your own funds in and ordered masks, from the internet so that we can get masks out in a time when there was still this debate around whether or not a mask would work and what they were doing in other places. And again, in that Mr. Edmond way, he said, look, I don't know what they're doing, but we're going to put masks out. We're going to give our community masks. And so thank you for your leadership in that effort. The results actually led to us being recognized that year as a Race to Safe Neighborhood of the Year. When there were conversations about what to do and what should be done with the vacant parcels of land on the Deuces, referred to as Commerce Park at that time, you insisted that we negotiate in terms of acres and ownership when others were talking in terms of square feet and leases. I want to say that again. You were encouraging us and insisting that we stop talking about square feet and leases and really change the conversation to acres and ownership. And because of your agitation, I would say in large part, the advocacy that you did is now being manifest in this historic partnership with the city of St. Pete and the development of Sankofa on the Deuces. Thank you for that. Your work around the community benefits agreement, Smell Something, Say Something, Friday Night Done Right, continuing the Law Fest that was, a staple in the community, and that torch was passed to you by Mama T. Lassiter, and picking that torch up and not letting it fall. Thank you for that. I'll end with this one. This is like the Baptist closing. So, for years, I remember you would tell me about your experiences around MLK and the things that were going on with the celebration, particularly on Martin Luther King Street. And I was not interested. I didn't participate in the celebration. I do the parade sometimes and go home, and whatever happened, happened. And we prayed for the best. But you were always a voice. You were always one who consistently said, we need to look at Martin Luther King and our celebration in the city differently. You talked about the economic impact that it has on our community with all of the visitors and people that come in. You talked about how you and others would sell and distribute your DVDs that you produced in the movies, and how it was always a hallmark of economic development for our community. And you would also lift up the challenges about the way that it was being handled by the police. And again, I was not interested. And then in 2018, it all came to a head when I had a personal experience with the lockdowns of that year. And then I got involved. It's interesting how being directly impacted by an issue can change your perspective on it. But when we were confronted with how we move forward, it was you, Mr. Edmond, who led the charge and came up with recommendations and solutions. And some of those recommendations, a couple of them included the creation of an African American quality of life study and the creation of a Sunshine Committee to oversee any recommendations or implementation that came out of that. While we didn't get the African American Quality of Life study or the creation of the Sunshine Committee, those recommendations would eventually lead to the structural racism study and a ballot initiative that put equity on the ballot in our city. Those initiatives were unsuccessful. However, last week, the mayor just announced the creation of the role of a chief equity officer, and that role will have oversight and direction of the city's effort to advance racial equity and inclusion. And I can say with a high degree of certainty, Mr. Edmond, that, and I'll actually be willing to debate this with anybody, that probably wouldn't have happened were it not for the work that you've done and did in our community. So this is the second and final closing. Mr. Edmond, your contributions to the city of St. Pete have been wide-ranging and impactful, touching on issues related to education, economic development, social justice, the arts, entrepreneurship, leadership development, motivation, inspiration, agitation, and so much more. So it is my prayer that your willingness to make the sacrifices that you've made and do the work that you did, which also included marching for over 100 days straight, while working with the chief of police and encouraging him to be bold in his leadership, which he has said when he talks about the CALL program, he talks about how you encouraged him to take some of the steps that he took in those times when there was a lot of trials going on. And thank you for that. So I pray that your work does not go unnoticed, that is not omitted from the history of our city over the past decade. So whether directly or indirectly, know that your work with the various organizations, the initiatives that you've been a part of, not just locally, but statewide, it demonstrates your commitment to creating a more equitable and just community for us all. And for those and so many other reasons, we would like to formally recognize you as an official Sunshine Ambassador for your valuable and impactful contributions to the city of St. Petersburg.
All right.
Come up here with me. Oh, okay. Come on. Y'all, this is my youngest son.
Look, you the filmmaker. You know how to pose.
Okay. Whew. Thank you so much. Thank y'all so much. Thank you, Brother John. Council member Brother John for everything. Thank the council and everybody. I would like to first some people that are not here that I would wish that could be here. My mother, Catherine Hayes, she passed like 2 years ago. So this would have been amazing for her to see. My grandmother, Janie Mack, my grandfather, all my family members that have transitioned, especially, Mama T. Lassiter. She's not my family member, but she really, took me in and really instilled a lot of stuff in me. My first time speaking at city council was because of Mama T. So yeah, she even filled out the thing for us. And yeah, she's going up there. I'm finna give it the chance. So, and I thank her for that because that was leadership, that was vision. Seeing something in me that I probably still don't really see in myself. So I really think, I thank y'all for that, right? The leadership, development, the encouragement, the support, allowing me to serve. Sister Humphreys always say, thank y'all for allowing me to serve. So every time we'll do something at gospel ministry, just give away food or Wi-Fi or whatever we're doing, she will always come out and just say, thank you, Jabaar, thank you for allowing me to serve. And it kind of just rattled me. I'm like, hey man, what she mean? What is she talking about? And then I realized, everybody who want to serve, are not always allowed. A lot of times there are a lot of barriers to service for our community. So I just really want to just take this time to thank everybody who's been supporting me over the years, because there's no way I could have got this done. So I've got a little speech here. It's not a speech. I got bullet points. Right? So, okay, so first I want to say thank you to my wife, my children, my dad, Larry Edmonds, my mom, Christine Edmonds. And first and foremost, I just want to say that this award and all this work, all this stuff, it isn't me. This is the community's award. This is the community's work. We came in, we started doing this work with an intent to have an impact in our community. We really wanted to, do some work, but not just, mindlessly and endlessly work on a hamster wheel. We wanted to have impact. So not only did we knock doors and, canvass neighborhoods, we also came to City Hall. We also went to office after office and suite after suite, or whatever it took to, advocate for whatever issue we were doing. I think when I started it was Agenda 2020, some of those first 2010, and what else was some of the meetings? I remember a lot of that stuff, right? Councilmember Deborah Figgs, when you was working at the YMCA, we did a lot of work over there. We did health fairs. We did a lot of stuff. I can't even imagine that, this day would come. So, and I definitely want to say a big shout out to the 8 Kings Collective. All the Kings that help us do this work. We feed over 200 mothers on Mother's Day. It actually started the 8 Queens Collective, and now they feed fathers in the community during Father's Day. So that's some of the amazing stuff. Dreammakers Productions, big shouts out to my team, the Community Development and Training Center, the New Image Project. So a lot of this work that we're doing, a lot of those movies, it's a part of the New Image Project to really, a New Image is an acronym for new information media, arts, and graphics, and entertainment. So looking to impact our community, not only, through the suites and knocking doors, but also through the entertainment, like the cultural influence that sometimes, misses the mark, right? Just to be nice. And so I just want to say, we've done this work for the community, the mothers, the fathers, the aunties, the uncles, the big homies, the little homies, the executives, the janitors, the city administration staff, sanitation, parks and rec, right? The people that make this community a community. And that's why we did this work. That's who we done this work for over these years. I just want to say a big shout out to the Barbershop Book Club, 909 Films, One Love Magazine, so many people, SEIU, Florida Rising, Organized Florida, Faith in Florida, NAACP. I just want to especially, the Urban League Young Professionals and the Urban League. I love the YPs. So, okay. So I just really want to thank everyone that has given us a chance, right, and believed in us and our work, right, because we could not have done half of this stuff without the community, right? I have a lot of good ideas. I'm a visionary. I see some stuff before they happen, right, and able to pull it down sometime. And none of this stuff is possible without the right people in the right place at the right time, working on the right issue. Because I went into meetings about whatever, and we end up on a whole nother place in a whole nother thing. And to actually see it manifest and to see it happen, wow, we wrote that down. Wait, that was, and it just to put it all together like a puzzle, it's amazing, y'all. So, and I do feel blessed to be able to do this work. We just, like I said, I want to thank everybody, the people who are here, the people who are at work, who cannot be here, right? So a lot of times, for real, this is who we do the work for. We were able to, give of our time and be at City Hall at 3 in the evening, wait an hour, 2 hours, or whatever. And there's people at work. There's people driving home right now from Orlando and Tampa and 2 hours worth of traffic, and they just can't possibly make it. So sometimes that's our drive. That's why we come up, right? That's where our entry is into City Hall and the political work. And just to be a voice for some people who just not here to say anything. It's not that they're voiceless. It's not like they don't have an opinion. They just can't make the meeting. Sometimes they don't see the importance of the meeting. Sometimes they can't see, that puzzle put together. And that causes, a lot of other stuff. But we ain't gonna go into that. I said I'm gonna keep it real positive. So, what is this? I know, right? Okay. So, so definitely I want to thank Childs Park Neighborhood Association for leadership development, mentorship, like everything. The Neighborhood Association has been a catalyst for like almost everything we've done. It's just amazing. I'm now the president of Childs Park, and I never thought that. I grew up in Childs Park Neighborhood Association, and just a little short story. When I met Brother John, it was a rest in peace memorial for Tamika Mack. It was a tragic story, and the community came together for a candlelight vigil, and we hit it off immediately. I met a couple powerful community members who I ended up doing a lot of work for that day as well. But one of the things, me and Brother John, and he's like, I'm the president of Childs Park Neighborhood Association. So I'm like, what? I've never heard we had a neighborhood association. What is this? Oh, yeah, man, call me, and we just started working immediately, like instantly. We went right and hit the ground running. We began volunteering. We learned that if you're not present, you can't be counted, right? And that became a very important thing because we would be in meetings where our interjections, our ideas and comments became central to the meeting. And it became so important, and we would think like, hey, what if we weren't there? And nobody said that. And nobody said those words. So that was some of those things were real eye-opening experiences for me, right? And, I think we just wanted to be the type to leave a mark and not a scar, right? We wanted to have an impact on our community and not just, be here and just out here all whatever. We want to have intention, move with intentionality. Pastor Murphy said that one time at a YMCA meeting, and I wrote it on the wall somewhere because I said I'm going to move with intentionality. It's going to be It's going to be on purpose. It's going to seem like it's not on purpose, but it's very intentional movements. We always wanted to carry our own weight and not only bring something to the table, but also leave something on the table when we left, right? Leave the place better than it was when we came. That was one of our goals. So we realized we didn't need the title to serve our community. So that was so very important, that realization, because then we learned we didn't need a budget to have an impact. And so we began to hit the ground where we started, right where we were at, right? So we mobilized, right? We organized from MLK to Beach Drive, right? We from City Hall to Washington, D.C. So we've been able to, how can I say? We believe we can positively impact our community. So we move that way. We believe we can meaningfully contribute, right? We believe that our contribution matters. So we got to start somewhere, right? So why not start here? Why not start in Childs Park? Why not start in St. Pete, right? And who knows where the work we go will lead. One time we was at the Foundation for Healthy St. Pete, and Chief was talking about the call program, and like, hey, I'm finna lead this meeting, and I'm finna go talk to other police chiefs around the United States. And they was talking about those stats, how many people that didn't go to jail because of the interventions, and that kind of hit me. Because like we were in these war rooms, community organizing war rooms, and talking about community organizing, right? But realizing that certain steps could really save people from going to jail. People who that may have had a mental health crisis or may have just needed somebody to talk to, and the police maybe not the person to talk to them at that time. And when we realized that, it was a long shot. It was like, you'll never do that. It was like the CBA. I remember the first day somebody said CBA, what is that? Community Benefits Agreement, Jabaar, and it does this. Oh, they'll never do that. That was like always the first thing, like every time. They'll never do that. They'll never consider that. And here we are, like years and years ago, a lot of community work, a lot of community workers have put that together, right? And just to see it grow, because I'm not a part of the CBA right now. I might go back one day. You never know. You know what I'm saying? But to see it grow and live on its own and be the opportunity, because it's only opportunity, right? That's just the first step. There's so many more steps that need to be taken, but we do need to celebrate the small steps and small victories we are taking, because our city has a very unique history, and we're living in a very unique time, and we can make some very unique things happen right now. So I'm just gonna end it at that. Miss Peggy, I want to just say, hold on, my last little bit. Okay, where we at? I ain't go through all this. I swear I didn't. Okay. So I just want to say, you know, the work continues, and I'm here. I'm probably sure I've probably messaged one of y'all or all of y'all about meetings, about something. I probably called you or text or whatever, and it's all out of love. It's all out of commitment to the community. It's all out of to make the community a better place, and that's like that's the hallmark. Well, really, our mantra, our thing is believe and do good, right? Believe that we can do it, then do it. But what you do, got to make sure it's good. You got to make sure that you're contributing, meaningfully contribute. That's one of the things we always attempt to meaningfully contribute. So if I'm in the room and if it's meaningfully contribute, just taking the water from the car to the table, or is it, you know, setting up the microphone, or is it, you know, running the camera, whatever it takes for us to meaningfully contribute, that's what we want to do. We want to continue the work of the USF structural racism study. That's historic work. I've been on calls with people from Chicago and all over looking at what we're doing. So I think we need to do more. So if this is a model that is taken to another city, we can push it more, because actually it came from Austin, Texas. You know, you guys just left Austin, Texas. So their impact impacted us here. And so our impact is impacting Chicago and universities way across America. So just imagine if we dig in and we really commit to the change that we say we want, that we say the city's about. So I'm here, I'm committed. Thank you to my team, thank you everybody. I can't say thank you enough, because like I say, this is the community's award, this is the community's work, and I'm just a servant ready to work.
Don't go anywhere. Jabaar, don't go anywhere. We got council member comments. Council Vice Chair Fig Sanders.
Thank you. So you pushed your button because I was going to go last, but I'll go first. First of all, I'm going to be brief, and I'm glad you brought up our introduction and our time together working in Childs Park. When I first met you, you were super excited. You were super hype about making a change in your community, in your neighborhood. The one thing that I have to congratulate you on is being a young black man that was willing to make a change. We see so many negative images of our young men. Whether we agree or disagree, everyone has their own purpose. You know, you were described as an agitator. Well, what good is a washing machine if you don't have an agitator?
That's right.
So you have to be able to provide service at all levels, from all different perspectives, from all realms, and you find a way to put it together. And to all, as they say, if they don't invite you to the table, you build your own, and you take your message there. So we needed, and we still do. And I think Councilmember Muhammad can attest that his service on this side of the dais is a whole lot different on the other side. You need everybody to use their roles to get things done, whatever that may look like. You know, you mentioned Mama T. Lassiter. Lord knows she would show up at a council meeting and she would use her role and her voice to bring awareness to the injustice in our communities. So again, like I said, right, wrong, agree, disagree, everyone has a value, everyone has a message. And again, I need to congratulate you and the other young brothers out there who, you know, may look at some of the bougie ones and this, that, and the other. They ain't doing this, but you know what? We all do our own things with the authority that we have to do. We all have our own position. I always use the analogy of a bicycle. Everybody can't be the handlebars. Everybody can't be the seat. Everybody can't be the wheels. Know your role. Take your turn. Do what it is that you need to do and do the best job at it that you know how to be. And you've done that, Jabaar. You know, as a matter of fact, I was one of those mothers you fed for Mother's Day. You're right. You utilized the Child's Park Y quite often. Y'all had your own little office there for a minute. You had a key. That's just how it was. Y'all had a key. You used your own office. Not only mention the fact that you shot my first campaign video when I ran for office. You sure did. You did. He shot my first campaign video. So I say we all have our own purposes. We all have our own missions, and I congratulate you on you being acknowledged for yours. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I want to say to Councilmember Mohammed, thank you for bringing this forward. I could not agree more with this award. You are an incredible person, first of all. I just want to say that. We first met in 2018. You mentioned after the MLK celebration. Both of you, I met both of you in that time. You came to council and you opened my eyes. And I think it was maybe a week or two later, and you may not remember this, I ran into you downtown somewhere and you grabbed me and said, hey, do you got a minute? And I think we stood there on that corner for probably 45 minutes and talked. And I made you a commitment then that if you brought something to me, that I would work with you and that we would see things through. And I just want to thank you for who you are, what you have taught me. Whenever I think about you and the work that you have done, a lot of words kind of come to mind for me. I mean, you are an artist, you are an activist, you're a disruptor. I mean, you said agitator, I would say disruptor. Accountability steward. I mean, I have been on calls with you where you were not afraid to hold people accountable to the words that they said and their actions. And those were tough conversations. And you just did not let up because you could see the inequity and the injustice, and you call people on the carpet. And I appreciate that about you. Thank you. You're a father, you're a husband, you're a friend. You are so many things, but you do it in such a positive way that I think a lot of people maybe aren't expecting, but it's just who you are. You're a very selfless person, and your fingerprints are on so many things in our city. And you have made such a difference in so many countless lives. It's really like we hear the saying, like, a life well lived. You have done that and then some, and I know that you have so far to go. I'm always excited for whatever your next idea is or what the next thing that you're going to bring forward that we need to work on as a city, because I know it comes from only the best intention, and not just for yourself, but for the community that you serve. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. My life is enriched because I have known you. So thank you so much, Jabaar, for who you are.